Hi, my lovely tarot bumblebees. It's Ethony, and today I'm going to be talking about the one, the only, the iconic whoosh, the craft. I'm actually going to be talking about the craft and the craft legacy, but I don't have the other one on DVD. And I'm going to be talking about a real witch's perspective on the craft. So buckle up, grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and let's dive in. So before I dive in, spoilers. If you haven't watched the movie that was from like 1998, don't come at me. It's been forever. Stop this video, go watch it. And then go watch Legacy. It came out last year, and then come back and we can kiki.
Let's have a kiki. I want to have a kiki. Lock the doors tight.
Secondly, I do not speak for the entire witchcraft community. So this is just my perspective. So again, don't come at me if you don't agree with me. These are just some talking points. Let's not take everything so seriously, honestly. All right, enough with that shenanigans. Let's get on with it. First, I'm going to talk about my general feels for the films. Look, I really love them. I especially love the first Craft movie. They are movies. They are not documentaries. They are meant to be something that is fun. And honestly, I will take any witchy movies, TV shows, books, whatever I can get my grubby little witchy hands on, because it's lovely to feel as though you can dive into a magical world. And the Craft, especially the 1998 Craft, the original, was super iconic. It still is. It's got cult status. And I'm sure there are a fair number of you out there, if you're anywhere near my age, which is old, that can say that the craft actually influenced their path in magic. When it comes to Craft Legacy, which came out in 2020, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I saw the trailer and I absolutely knew I was going to watch it, like no doubt. But I saw a lot of glitter CGI and I was kind of like, I don't know. But I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it was, because I went into the film knowing it was just a fun movie about witches. Was it cheesy? Yes. Was it predictable? So predictable I could have written it with my hands tied behind my back in my sleep, but it was still really fun. And another thing I liked about the Legacy film is it kind of caught up with the times in regards to being more representational. Was it perfect? No, but it did actually show different aspects of teenagers and young adults today. One of the things I really like about both films is it actually steps away from all witches being evil and having a relationship with the dark arts. In both of the films, they do not talk about any stereotypical Hollywood things about the devil and Satan and taking dark oaths and all that sort of stuff. Now, there are art forms that have completely leaned into that, looking at the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. But the wonderful thing about the Craft, especially the 1996 one, was that it was a departure from a lot of representations of witches. Now, we were kind of living in the golden age there, because we also had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Willow is one of the bossest witches ever. And we also had Charm. So it really came along at a time when we were getting a lot more representation. And then obviously Harry Potter happened and everything blew up. But it was nice that this was an entryway to going, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit more to modern witchcraft than just some stereotypical dogmatic bullshit that people want you to be afraid of. Now, as you saw, I actually own the DVD of the original Craft and I watch it absolutely every year. I can pretty much quote that film. It came out when I was in high school. I'm aging myself or whatever. And there were a lot of people who were very heavily influenced by that movie in my school. We actually even had a group of girls walking around in a four, they had a four, and they were saying that they did all sorts of stuff. And I was like wicked in the closet back then. I really felt like I already knew what my path was going to be, but I just kept my mouth shut, because there was no way that it was just me, but I was not going to be like, you're not a real witch. I just shut my mouth. But it was really interesting to see the reaction of everyone in my high school to these four girls walking around thinking that they were the girls from the Craft. So it absolutely, in Australia in the late 90s, had a massive impact. So those films, both of the films, have a pretty special place in my little heart, and I would absolutely watch both of them again. So I enjoyed them. Thumbs up from me, or a witchy pointy hat. So whatever rating system you want to give it, I enjoy them. So now I want to talk about the representations in the Craft when it comes to witches as people themselves. So every witch is different. Every witch is going to be as unique as their own practice itself. One of the things I really liked about both of the films is that it wasn't all about the "I need a boy to like me" movement of the craft. Was that actually in both of them? Yes, it was. But was it everything in both of them? No, it wasn't. We had a lot of different things in regards to what was going on. What I really liked in the first one was that there was a lot more dimension in regards to the girls and their magic. So we had Rochelle, who was played by Rachel True, and has her own tarot deck out now and has been reading forever, who was dealing with racism and racist bitches. And believe me, that girl deserved not only her hair to fall out, but an awful lot more. Like, racism is a real problem, and it's still a real problem. And she used her part of the craft to get some of that power back from some bullying that was happening in her school. And why the teachers in the school weren't doing more about that is some pretty fucked up shit. But still, she was dealing with that. Bonnie wanted to be scar-free. She had a lot of insecurities about her body, and who doesn't in high school? Whether you had scars or not, it's an awkward bloody time. So she just wanted to feel more confident within herself. And Nancy, who I think got a royally bad kind of rap in the movies, was dealing with a toxic, abusive home life. She was dealing with a stepdad, or I don't know if they were married or whatever, that was terrible to her mother and her. And she had no power, and all she wanted to do was get some freedom for herself and her mother. And that's some real shit that people deal with. It wasn't all about wanting a boy to like me, and I really enjoyed that part of the craft. I did love the representation and the diversity in the characters in Legacy. We had a beautiful trans woman as one of the craft members. We had a bi guy that was pretty open, at least to one of the major characters, about his sexuality. And it was different. It was lovely to see more representation happening in the craft. I would love to see another movie where Lily and Nancy spend some time together, because that was kind of like the clickbait for the end, and obviously leaving it wide open for another movie. And yes, there were cliches, but I still enjoyed that they were at least trying to make it more representational. So I'm not going to go into a massive deep dive on it, but I highly recommend you check out Clementine Ford on Instagram. She is a feminist. She's an Australian feminist, and she does some amazing deep dives on a lot of our favorite sort of movies and things like that, on the characters and from a feminist perspective. And she does an amazing deep dive on the craft. Remember, you can be critical about a piece of art that you like and still enjoy it. It just offers you an opportunity to critically think about the media you're consuming, and Clementine Ford's stuff is exceptional. I will place a link in the description box below where you can go check out her stuff. It's in her highlights, so you may have to scroll around to find it, but go do yourself a favor if you like the craft and check it out. So now I'm going to talk about the actual representations of the craft and magic as a practice. I mean, I could talk all day about the inaccuracies of the way in which they deal with the craft all day, because it's a piece of fiction. For everyone in the back, it's not real. But what I do like is they actually did bring some consultants in to try and add a little bit of reality to it, which really helped ground it. And I think that was one of the reasons why it has stayed as this iconic piece of work, is because there is a little bit of that fact mixed in with the fiction. One of the most memorable lines of the original movie is that of Lero, who is the woman who owns the most amazing magic shop that everyone was like, oh, I want that one day. Like, who didn't look at that shop and just be like drooling? Witch drooling right now, goals, herbs from the ceiling. So her line, and I'm going to quote this so that I don't fuck it up. True magic is neither black nor white. It's both, because nature is both, loving and cruel all at the same time. The only good or bad is in the heart of the witch. Life keeps a balance on its own. Understand this. Whatever you send out, you get back ×3. It's a part of a basic spiritual truth, said in many ways in many faiths. Do unto others as you would have them undo to you. And like, what a beautiful, real, grounded way to describe the craft and to describe witchcraft. Your practice, your magic is going to be the center of what is in your heart and the center of who you are as a person. It is how you manifest, represent, and project out into the world. It's how you move in the world, how you deal with people. A lot of real witches who have dealt with their shit and gone through the dark night of the soul and done shadow integration and done the work are not raging with every person they meet on the street and see everything as a confrontation. Will they take on systemic racism? Absolutely. Will they stand with people who've been downtrodden? 100%, or they should be, because the craft should be absolutely inclusive. But they also walk in the world in their own power because they understand it comes from within yourself. Another thing we see a lot in the craft are things like bindings, glamours, elemental calls, and other types of magic. And all of those things are true and real. Even drawing down the moon, in the first craft, we see it as drawing Manon into Nancy. But those things can be done. It's just the Hollywood representation of how that is done. And I know a lot of us tried this stiff as a board, light as a feather many times. I think it's light as a feather, stiff as a board. I know I did. And there's like levitation and like all these glamours are thrown. And of course, it's very different, like trying to change your hair color. I've never met anyone who's been able to do that. But have I been able to shield myself and glamour myself out of someone's like view or being able to single me out? Absolutely. So I'm just going to knock a few of these inaccuracies out of the way. The first one is you do not need a fourth to have a coven. Covens can be anywhere between 2 to however many you want. Traditionally, it would be 13 in a real life coven, but a lot of us belong to online covens, like how I run an online coven. So you don't need a fourth, or you don't need someone to complete the elements. I've been in plenty of covens where we've all taken turns having to call in different elements because we don't have enough people. So that's an inaccuracy. You do not need to be born with any special gifts or from a lineage of witches. That's something that they talk about in the films quite a lot, is that you're born with the gift. And there are obviously some of the members in those covens that have quite a lot of that gift. And it seems to be something that you're innately born with. I believe that everyone is born with the same sort of ability to tap into their practice and their craft. We all just manifest it in a different way, and we all have different, leanings in regards to our clairs, etc. But you don't need to come from a lineage of witches or be born with special powers. Our powers are not that of CGI witches. I feel like that is probably an obvious one, but I want to state it. I wish I had someone giving me some magical fucking lighting and some like cool sparkly shit that could like run around after me, but unfortunately I don't. But CGI witches, it's a thing, it's Hollywood. The deity Manon from the first film was made up specifically for the film. They wanted to move away from any known sort of incantations or manifestations of deity and God, so they created their own. Warlocks, aka David Duchovny in the second film, are not the way that they are represented in the film. Warlocks generally mean that who is an oathbreaker or betrayer. I have met people who run around saying that they're warlocks. Well, I guess that was not a nice way of saying that, but they call themselves warlocks. You do you, boo, whatever. But they are not the same as what is shown in the film. It was very interesting that they kind of linked that to some like alt-right male group kind of shit, but it was interesting to say the least. But warlocks are not the same unless there's some kind of rando person running around hunting witches, which I'm sure some quack or some crazy person is, but I have yet, thankfully, knock wood, come across any of those. Another inaccuracy is that you cannot make someone fall desperately in love with you like they did in the film. Soz about it. Plus, why would you want to? Go find someone else who thinks you are the bomb.com.org.whatever/amazing. Don't waste your time with that shit. It's never worth it. Levitation, unfortunately, is CGI, not real. I signed up for this witchcraft bullshit to be able to fly. I can't fly. No, I didn't sign up for it, and it's not bullshit, but you know what I mean. It's levitation. It's not real the way that it is in the movies. It looks cool, but look, I could go on like I said, but I don't want to because I don't want to sit and pick apart a movie that is meant to be enjoyed and is meant to be a work of fiction. If you have not seen them, go check them out, even though I've spoiled the shit out of them for you now, because they are a nice popcorn film you can watch with your witchy friends. The craft and the craft legacy are just that, a legacy that proves that witchcraft is absolutely mainstream and is here to stay. I would love to hear what your thoughts were on the craft movie and the legacy movie. I want to know if it was something that impacted your craft choices or if it actually influenced you to become a witch. Let me know in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe and click notifications to get more content like this, and I'll see you all next time.